Good morning. This is Dan Way at the State Treasurer's Office. I want to welcome you to the March 2022 edition of Ask Me Anything. This is your opportunity to ask the Treasurer what's on your mind and his chance to tell you what's on his. And with that, we'll have some opening remarks from the Treasurer.
Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everybody. It's with a heavy heart that we start this call today with our thoughts and prayers with the people of Ukraine and the impact that they must be feeling while we're sitting here. And so I appreciate you taking the opportunity to join us today. We got lots of things going on at the Treasurer's Office, some of which you've read about. And with that, we'll take any questions you might have. So the press release talked about economic volatility in the markets, as well as the impact on the local governments and inflation. So,
thank you, Treasurer. Those of you who've been on the call before know it's just freewheeling. You can ask whatever question you have. All we ask is that you state your name and your organization, and there's no specific order. So we will open it up for the first question.
You mentioned, hi, it's AP Dillon, North State Journal.
Hey, AP.
Hey, in the release for today's call, you mentioned that you were going to talk about the current status of the teachers and state employees retirement system,
right,
as well as local government employee retirement systems. Is there a specific update on that, or has something changed?
Yes, starting out with one sentence. Your pension is safe. And that goes for all the pension plans, AP, that you just mentioned. This plan has always been very conservatively managed for the last 50 years. And when markets go down like they have this year and like they did between St. Patrick's Day and July 4th of 2020, our certified financials show that we don't go down quite as much. So the pension plan has lost about 4% since the high mark of the end of December. And that is about half of what the stock market has lost. And so we don't pretend to have a crystal ball. We know that we have to invest in things that have a high margin of safety, that aren't priced for perfection, and that's what has been done in the past, and that's what will be done in the future. But the bottom line is that your pension is safe, and we remain in the check delivery business. We just mailed out checks for $550 million for the last 30-day period to over 350,000 participants. So pension is safe. Checks are still being delivered, and with all the angst and anxiety we have in our society right now, worrying about the safety and security of these pension plans should not be one of those.
Okay, great, thank you. I have one follow-up to that.
Yes.
You also talked about the annual inflation rate ballooning up to 7.5%. That's obviously a problem for local budgets. And I know that the LGC is meeting later today,
right,
on a number of topics. Is that going to be factoring into the conversations had today or the asks from different counties?
As I've said before, and inflation is a thief, and it's not just a thief to especially lower and fixed income people. It's also a thief to local governments and the state governments in that respect. And so this inflation thing is highly serious, and where it really comes into focus, AP, with the local government commission is that, we approve a sewer pump at $543,000, like for one of our mountain communities, and it comes in costing $800, or a water treatment plant at $120 million, it comes in $190 million, and so that's how it sort of finds its way into our world here at the local government commission. I will tell you, obviously, since we're so conservatively invested and we have a very short duration on our bonds, this is a very important story. I mean, very important part of this. That as interest rates go up, typically for most of our lifetime, stocks go down, but it gives us an opportunity to take billions of dollars and invest it at higher interest rates than what we were getting a year ago. And it's also important to know, which has not been widely reported, that as chair of the Debt Affordability Commission, and we can get this report to you, it was certified about 2 weeks ago. I think we put out a press release on it. But the state debt over the last five and over the next 4 is projected to be cut in half. So typically you get very worried at the state level when you're constantly in the market borrowing money, and we're not. We're actually, the state debt is going to be falling in half over an 8-year period of time. And we have refinanced every single piece of debt we possibly could back over the last 20 months. So we're in great shape on the debt side. We're very concerned about inflation for local governments, and we're watching the impact it has on the stock portion of our pension plan, but also understanding it gives us opportunities to invest money in fixed income at higher rates of interest.
Can you have any further questions, AP?
Nope, those are my 2.
Great. Well, we appreciate that.
AP, do you have the DAC report?
I might, but just send it to me anyway if you could, please.
And 2 things to draw your attention to. One is the members of the DAC, which I think is on page 2, and maybe on page 4 or 5. There's a couple of charts there's 4 charts that look very similar, but just in your mind split out. We got general obligation fund debt, we got DOT debt. The DOT debt chart, we've maxed out that credit card because of issues that have gone on over the last 3 years. What I'm talking about is the general obligation, and there's one chart in there that talks about debt service. The chart I'm referring to is about total debt outstanding. That's the one you probably should draw your attention to.
All right. Ready for the next question?
Michael Pratt with WECC.
Hey, Michael.
Hey there. Just had a quick follow-up regarding the inflation rates and labor shortage, supply chain disruptions that were talked about hampering local government operations. Is this something we are already starting to see? I know you mentioned the water system in a mountain town, but is this something you expect will affect local governments across the state?
Michael, thank you for your interest. And what county are you sitting in, Michael?
New Hanover County.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. We're definitely concerned about this, and for a couple of reasons. If you'll just give me a little latitude, Michael. What you're facing at sea level is different, but as interesting as what they're facing in the mountains. At sea level, for example, and don't hold me to this statistic, but let's say that you have a leak in a sewer pipe. It costs about twice as much per foot to repair that at sea level than it does in Raleigh, even though the labor cost is higher in Raleigh. And the reason is, as soon as you start digging down at sea level to work on something, then you got water coming in. So it costs a lot more. And then you take from sea level and then start going through the torso of our state and then up toward the mountains. You've got other issues. For example, in the mountains, it costs more. It takes more power to pump water and sewer, which costs more. So these are things that are going on. And lastly, which is something hopefully you don't think about every day, our big problems, especially down east with some of our water and sewer systems, specifically sewer, is leaks in the top of the pipe. You think about leaks being at the bottom, but leaks are in the top. And what that means to you is that some of these small towns where we have partnered to get their sewage processed by a larger utility group, They may only be charging for 8,000 gallons of sewage a day, but they're customers, but they're having to pay for 16,000 gallons a day to be processed, because when it rains, the rainwater comes in the sewer pipe, so you're actually processing rainwater. So with water, we're highly concerned about leaks in the bottom of the pipe, and with sewage, we're very concerned about leaks at the top of the pipe. Now, as it relates to all that, as I said earlier, we're seeing massive inflation in terms of the cost of pumps, the cost of labor, the cost of pipe, and how the employment crisis is overlaying all this, just the ability to get work done. I've mentioned this at the Council of State meeting in front of the governor and all the other Council of State members. We need to have a task force that specifically focuses on inflation, especially when, as the state treasurer, I say it's a thief for lower and fixed income individuals. That also applies to lower income counties, lower income cities. And we need to make sure that we're not putting policies in place that create even more inflation. When you have all this money coming from the federal stimulus that makes things at one time, then where you used to maybe have 3 or 4 bidders on a project, now you only have one. That raises the cost of it. So you asked an outstanding and fantastic question. And these inflationary pressures are very concerning as it relates to upfitting our water and sewer systems.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. That's all for me.
Thanks, Michael. So we'll entertain the next question. I know we have.
Hi, this is Alexandria Williams. I'm at Port City Daily, also in New Hanover County. I was just curious, we have a lot of construction projects going on, and specifically the ones I'm interested in are new school buildings, and they are going to cost a lot more. So I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit to that ripple effect, and what we could be expecting to see in school systems and also local government. Thanks.
Ashley, thank you for your interest, and you're exactly right. If these contracts had not been let out yet, then you are seeing an increase in you are seeing a square footage cost increase for school construction and repair and replacement. One thing that I'm going to be working on over the next few months is taking even a closer look at how the lottery proceeds are issued for public school construction. We need to absolutely make sure, especially in this inflationary period, that we're not unnaturally incenting local entities to tear down buildings that are repairable and refurbishable. And some of that is wired into how the lottery public school construction money comes in. But at the end of the day, and my example that I've given in the past, Alexandria, is that up in Winston-Salem, beyond Wake Forest University, there's Old Town Elementary, which has been there since the early 1900s. And when I was on the school board, they were just going to tear down this amazingly gorgeous building. And, we made the decision, thoughtful decision to take the legs and arms off of it and keep the torso intact. So we refurbished the torso and then put new legs and arms on it. It's just a gorgeous facility. We need to make sure that the public school construction funding that comes from the North Carolina Education Lottery is not disincenting that type of opportunity.
Thanks. You have a follow-up, Alex?
Yeah, I just had another question. I was just curious, since we're also pretty near Brunswick and Pender, which are both rural counties, is there something that you think that journalists should specifically be paying attention to in those more rural communities?
Yeah, I think that what journalists should be paying attention to are the elected leaders there, are in terms of their budget, are they starting out like they can hold out? We are seeing examples all over the United States of states that got all this federal stimulus like North Carolina did, but they've blown it. They've used it for one-time things they've probably increased the cost of their government, but they're not going to win the lottery again in terms of getting this federal stimulus. So I think that if you look at the discipline and the strategy that was been implemented by the North Carolina General Assembly this year in a budget that was ultimately signed by the governor of North Carolina, I think if you looked at that strategy and apply it to local governments, then that'll set you on the right course. But the other thing is that the root word of conservative is to conserve, to get more out of less. And sometimes it just takes a lot of common sense, and a lot of patience to figure that out. And as I said in the earlier remarks, making sure that these local governments aren't doing things that make them compete against themselves for the same type of construction is highly important.
Oh, that was it for me. Thank you so much.
Good job. Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Someone else have a question? There were several other people on the call. If not, we'll go to closing comments from the treasurer.
Well, we've done one of these every month since I've been the keeper of the public purse since January of 17, and we appreciate the choice that many of you made to join us today. There's a lot going on at the treasurer's office, a lot of issues that are being covered by a bond buyer as far as impacts of inflation, lots of issues being covered because of the incredible invasion of Ukraine and other types of issues around the world. So as always, you have a job to do, and the culture that we have here at the treasurer's office is to help you do that job. And in so many instances, especially when it relates to some of these local government situations, smaller government situations, the media is the last line of defense. And I find that to be very important. The state auditor, as you know, through comments that she or her office has made in the past, continues to work diligently on audits, and I think you should be paying attention as closely as possible. This goes back to Alex's previous question, to things that are coming out of the state auditor's office regarding her findings. She is, I think, involved in over 32 audits right now with situations going on with local government entities, and many of them impact the folks that are on this call.
Well, thank you, Treasurer, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to join us today. Just a reminder that the Local Government Commission will be meeting at 1:30, and you can find the link to that meeting on our website.
Let me finish. Thank you, Dan. There'll be a lot of discussion about the viable utility reserve, a lot of discussion about the Holden Beach Pier, I believe, and other types of issues. So that's what you can, and get the agenda on the website also.
nctreasurer.com. And we'll look forward to meeting with you again next month. Thank you.